Everybody, I'm seeing some people are leaving the room. I hope that's not because of me. I know it's late in the day. How's the energy level? Yeah? Way! Okay, great. I know like we are not playing any longer in soccer, but I'm from Switzerland, or I live and work in Switzerland, like Philip's doing. So tonight we have a great tournament. I can easily switch now nationality, which is great, you know. One part is German, the other half is Swiss. But why am I here today? So, and I think I need this one. Tom, what do I have to need to do? Ah, here we go. Sorry. So my name is Bianca. I work at Syntegon. You might not know that company, but you might know our former brand that was Bosch. So Syntegon Technology Packaging has been bought 1.5 years ago by a finance investor. So as you might imagine, that's a lot of transformation ahead. My role in this company is being a change manager, so really guiding people through their change. Yeah, it's an exhausting task. Mirror neurons, that's okay. And what we are doing in my team is kind of providing a lot of knowledge and guidance, as Philip said, towards transformational leadership and sometimes transactional leadership. And today I'm really delighted because it was my MBA thesis to speak about NeuroLeadership. And you might have heard about it. If you haven't, we get deeper into that one. NeuroLeadership is a concept that was invented 2006 by David Rock and Jeremy Schwartz. Jeremy Schwartz is the neuroscientist here. David Rock is a management guru. So what did Rock kind of find out? He actually kind of thought all the management theories we are seeing at the moment are kind of coming out of the 80s, 70s, if we are lucky, the 90s. Is that still kind of matching the world we are living at the moment? And we all have been through Corona. So 1.5 years ago, the world looked different. There has been a lot of change since then. We still have, in the old management theories, a lot of people who need to be led through their jobs. So I think, if you consider the 70s and 80s, nothing new to you because you're all specialists. There has been the picture of a human being that need to be led through work. Someone has to coordinate, someone has to manage, and you might know the word managing comes from manege, so horses and a circle, and you gallop through it. So is that still the case? Meanwhile, I think nowadays we've got 2/3 of the world's population is actually earning money with their brains. But are we actually adapting to that one in management? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Transformational leadership is one approach, and NeuroLeadership would be another one. So Rock decided there must be something that goes deeper than actually transformational leadership, and he thought, like, why not really go, if some of you is familiar with lean management, go to Gemba. Find the solution where the problem is sitting. Ask people for their thinking. And maybe the current world for most of us, all of us working in change management, looks a bit like this. Not quite sure how familiar you are with this one, but this is my current working situation. Whenever I've got leaders at the moment, they come up, there's a change situation, way alert, let's call the change managers. Oh, actually we have to hire one. Maybe there's not enough. Maybe we need to find another solution. Instead of asking really the people for their solutions and ask them kind of what is your concept of the whole thing here. And it might resonate with most of us, huh? Yeah. I thought so. This is actually my daily bread and butter. So I am always called in when leaders got stuck in a certain situation. And why is that? Because most of the people I work with, we are producing machines. They are engineers. So they are really busy with processes and they are very good in changing processes. But unfortunately, there is this human factor. Bloody hell. How did the others come in here? So that's exactly the point, and this is where the whole story starts. And maybe some of you might know this picture already. If I talk about brains, I often use this as an island. Those of you who are familiar with the good old Vera Birkenbiel, management trainer from the 80s, she always talked about everybody is living in an island, not on in an island. Specifically because our islands have kind of these little walls around us, and we think what we perceive as reality is real. It's just one part of the story. It's our reality. And no island is alike. So everybody is building an island on our own experience, childhood, emotions, whatever comes our way. And you might have heard, there's a lot of iceberg models around. One iceberg model is really kind of that first it starts with a thought. A thought becomes an emotion becomes a habit becomes an outcome. And where do we place the change? On the habits or on the outcome. Rarely on emotions, and very, very, very rarely on thoughts. So think about this one as the following. I live on my beautiful island. I've got a palm tree. Beautiful palm tree. It grows me coconuts. I'm such a lucky person. This coconut is delicious. I can drink the water. I've got something to eat. And once the coconut is empty, I can wear it as a hat. Oh, sun protection, yeah, because we know global warming is coming and so on. Yay, I'm such a lucky woman. Unfortunately, you know, the neighbor next door, I've seen him, pitiful, really pitiful. He has to live with a tree just with leaves. Has any one of you ever eaten leaves? Rarely, hey? You have. How was that? It's kind of part of our kitchen culture. See? You must be one of these really sad people then living on an island with just leaves. You know, you are lucky. I'm in a giving, sharing moment, you know. So I would like really to throw over my coconut to you, and you can just, you know. Bloody hell, see the neighbor? I drop and throw my coconut. What is he doing? Getting up his umbrella. Can you believe that? Bloody hell. It's really like, I think it's a really unthankful beggar. I don't know what's going to happen with this man, but I'm sharing the best I have. Look at that. So what are we seeing here? It's the typical situation and change. We think for people what is best for them. We think for people what they should do. We make suggestions how they should change. And then we are disappointed if they don't take it. Or even better, my favorite one is the change curve. When we talk about resistance, without really understanding where resistance comes from. I think in our company, we just recently finished a leadership program where there was even the word terrorists. That nearly killed me. Where I thought, okay, so now we are in the mood, we talked about terrorists in a company that do not want to apply to change. That wasn't really properly either explained to them, and we never ever thought about on the higher ranks, what does that mean for me here on the working floor? And this is where I would like to invite you to go via 6 facts about the brain that you might already know and maybe you don't. First one is, our brain is a connecting machine. So whenever, like today, like this last 2 days, whenever we perceive new information, the brain is kind of connecting new ways. So there's a chemical reaction to it. This is the new neuronal pathway, and you always have something that is kind of new to you. You actually perceive that in your working memory. If you would think about it as a computer, you have a working station here. So working memory, zack. Second level of brain work would be hardwiring. And as we know, no brain is alike. All the hardwiring would happen in a different way. You might have heard about the expression, neurons that wire together, fire together. How many of you have in their companies the sensation that change is something negative? Exhausting? So what does the brain do with this information? Hardwiring, negative, change. Negative, exhausting, change. Is that something the brain likes? Maybe not. We just learned from Philip, we all like to have a colon, something pleasant, something delightful. I can tell you, for example, my husband, he has a beautiful wiring when it comes to Spanish. He used to learn Spanish at university, and he really enjoyed that because of a beautiful Spanish teacher. Neurons that wire together, fire together. So there's an emotion, there's something I learn that goes together, and I connect that, so our brain has a hard wiring on Spanish is great. either beautiful people or really good atmosphere or whatever. So this is wired like that. Change most of the time is really wired in companies as something really difficult, hard, maybe as well exhausting, and something that has an impact on myself that's not really, really good. So therefore, hardwiring, I said that, the brain is hardwiring everything because it likes to automate things. Fourth thing is really everything we are doing. If you think about driving a car, if you would think about every single step you're doing in the car, you would go bananas. You really would lose your brain. It's too much energy. So everything we are doing for the second, third time, the brain already says like, okay, I know that one. Hardwiring. Philip and I are coming from the Alps, so I use this one instead of the Grand Canyon. But think about your brain as the Alps. So there are really mountains that were built because of your thoughts, emotion, habits that have been created since quite a while. And you might imagine it's quite hard to flatten the Alps. This is what we try most of the time with really old management theories and change. We try to deconstruct a wiring that's already there. People need to change. If you just change in that way, I want you to change. It's nearly impossible. You can't deconstruct a wiring because it's really heavily in the ground. It's really like the Alp, it's like the Grand Canyon. Good news, it's easy to create a new one. Think about like digging or really kind of digging a tunnel into the Alps. We did that several times in Switzerland. Most of you, if you go to Italy, that's called the Gotthard Tunnel. We even produced a second or third tunnel now, I think. Third. So this is a new way of actually going through the Alps. If you think about that one for your own brain, if you are asked to do something new, then it's really kind of think about it. If you conduct change, make it a thinking game, make it a learning journey, because our brain really likes that. And why is that? No brain is alike, and yet they want the same. I think I'm not telling here any new things. You might have heard that the brain is distinguishing between good and bad. So we have in NLP, those of you who are familiar with NLP, always a away from state. Away from means I try to avoid threat. Everything that is threatening my life, everything that might be dangerous to me, I try to avoid that. So everything that comes in negatively as a negative filter, change is exhausting, change is bad, sits on away from side. And this is then what we call resistance, terrorist, and so on. So everything that is not quite sitting with the brain. Instead of, we could actually produce, a towards state. And a towards state means reward, everything that is positive. Do you know this feeling? You did something at school or you do something at work and someone is saying, hey, that's a great job. Or instead of yes, but, it would be a yes and, building on ideas. It's a little word that creates a different outcome. Because a yes and would mean I build on your ideas, I strive for reward, and I feel embraced with you. I appreciate your idea. Is that something we could use and change? Yes, absolutely. But we make ourselves, or the way we do it, at times quite difficult because it's based on the old world. Therefore, few things actually to create the positive feeling. Always try to create a towards state in change management. Second, facilitate insights. Philip talked about it, coaching. Yay, you could be a coach. You could be the coach of your employees, use transformational leadership actually to bring that on, because facilitating insights means you really go to the thoughts of people. You ask them to think. This is what they are paid for. This is why they came for the first place. Then commit to action. Whenever there's a thought, try to bring it into action. Make people like of hardwiring their thoughts. Get that out of them, make it really the next Alp, the next tunnel, the next Gotthard tunnel you can go through. And then follow up with a habit you built. So most of you might know that already. We are working at the moment with Agile. And many people confuse Agile, this is neuronal pathway. Agile is something we confuse with flexibility. Meanwhile, Agile work is something completely different because it is a different way of working. And this is the chance to actually produce as well new habits because you change something. Or if I talk to my husband, who's a lean manager, he's creating that every day on the shop floor when he's kind of changing things. just changing a workplace might change a habit, because then if I even take, if you try that, your door handle in the car for a week, just open it with the other hand. Little exercise, very delightful. And then after a while you will have forgotten that it's this one is the hand you normally do it with, because you will do it then with that one. So that's something we have to keep in mind if we want to create a toward state in change management. Unfortunately, due to our survival patterns, the brain is more focused on the negative impact. Why is that? Think about it. There was the tiger coming towards you, and you would have just focused on the nice little flowers and berries next here. You would have been gone. Therefore, the impact of bad is always stronger for the brain, and then it has a more deep impact. I'm not quite sure you know that. I have had, when I started my job, unfortunately, a really bad encounter with my boss's boss, who thought he's doing kind of me a favor in giving me feedback. Anyone familiar with this feedback burger thingy? Plus minus. What do you think after this one was what has happened? I got out of the conversation with something very negative. I couldn't even recall what was the positive impact he tried to squeeze in next to it, because he was new to me. I couldn't trust him. I have had no idea, so a threat in general to me. And then he gave me negative feedback by, I don't know what it was, but something where I thought like, oh, hang on, I have to be alert here. There's an alert situation, threat. Did you think I changed my behavior? No. By that time, we tried to avoid each other. So that's gone now, but it took a while really to gain trust again and to clear the situation. So what we needed was producing insights. What did you think about the situation? What did I think about the situation? What did we perceive? What were the emotions? What was the outcome? So we changed habit. So overcoming such a situation, I would like to introduce you to SCARF. SCARF is the actually the next level of the NeuroLeadership concept of David Rock, and he's introducing that one. Whenever there's a change situation, you could actually, as a leader, think about and take 5 little steps to consider what's going to happen with that person, to really understand what is going on here. I said we just got sold. That means for a lot of people in my company a very stressful time, and at times really as well a change of jobs, roles and whatsoever. So I would like to introduce you to Bob, which is one of our general managers. He started his career at Syntegon or Bosch or Zigpack or however we were called before as an apprentice when he was 16. Now he's around 60, so typical career that you might see in certain industries. And unfortunately, Bob got a new boss last year. The new boss didn't really favor what Bob was doing, and as well, he didn't think Bob was ready and fit for his job. So what has happened? Bob's status was at threat. Because Bob before was a general manager, he was comparable to all his peers, he was clearly in scope, like he knew exactly his position, socially, hierarchy-wise and whatsoever. New boss came in, kicked him out. What has happened? He lost his status. He was unclear actually where he was. There was no information about his whereabouts afterwards, because it was just clear, you're not right here. And you might know that this is a typical situation that happens quite often in change. So after that one, Bob didn't know actually like if he could predict his outcome or the outcome of his career. Could he stay there until he's retiring? Is he still welcomed in the company? Because there was no concept whatsoever. There was no idea how the landscape looked like. We are changing, but we don't know where and how and why. It's just we know you're not the right person for this job. We did run an assessment, no fit. Then autonomy. Do you think Bob was still capable of choosing what he has to do in there? No sense of control, and we all know that. Losing sense of control is something for us in our jobs, which is quite terrifying. And that does something to us. And normally it does the following, because then you have relatedness. You go back to the cave where you came from and where your family and friends are living. Exactly that happened, and you might know this as well from your experience with change. So the relatedness became an in-group, out-of-group phenomenon. What does that mean? Bob went back to the peers he knew. Bob went back to people he trusted and started complaining, or maybe even just, kind of giving a bit of trust where he was based, telling about like, I feel not really very well treated, I don't know where to go, I feel miserable, etc., etc. And then what has happened? You just have seen that with Philip's movie. Most of you have smiled. Mirror neurons kicking in. Because those people we like, where we have empathy with, we suffer with them. We have a bit the sensation of, okay, what happens to him could happen to me. Do I want that? No. So what we created was a real gap between the new boss that came in and our company. So we've had a proper split. And communication was kind at risk. So we started to inform instead of communicate because there was no trust left. And then this point, fairness in the concept of the SCARF model is actually overarching. And this is something that comes from the values Philip mentioned. All the values that we are having and we are owning, if they are treated badly, most of the other stuff comes with it. So if I feel unfairly treated, I wouldn't go with you, I wouldn't trust you. I do not think kind of my status is clear and everything falls a bit apart. So in Bob's case, he felt pretty much unfairly treated, obviously. And that was then the point where they called us in as a team, or like me specifically as a change manager, to actually do the mediation in terms of what could we do. So I explained the concept of SCARF to the newer boss and said, have you checked that one when you actually fired Bob, or kind of downgraded? He didn't fire him, but when you downgraded Bob, did you check that? What were your possibilities? So we went a bit through a reflection phase and came up with this one. What would have helped Bob? Status clearing, bring in perspective. We like you as a person. Socially, you are fine. We like you because you're someone, you have a good network, really think you have value from your personal perspective. But at the moment, maybe not for the job we want to achieve here. Because you have to fire people, we can clearly see there's something. That's a talk, that's transparency, and it clears kind of you're still okay. I can compare myself still with others. Certainty, clarity on next step. Even if the next step are a bit unclear, or like the future, how does that look like? You could always, we decided to go for, listen, there will be 2 or 3 opportunities. We do not know at the moment really where to go and what it might be, but it would be one level downgraded, and you will have a choice. Next point, autonomy. Bob got a bit of perspective for himself, and it was even given to him the opportunity to choose, do you want to sit in the basement, do you want to sit on the first floor? We often underestimate even little choices we create in change situations that leave people with a sense of autonomy, because we waste our time thinking for others and we assume instead of asking. The latest point, like the fourth point, would be relatedness. With this discussion, the whole situation and relationship changed between Bob and the new boss, because they started to build a relationship, they started to establish trust. It's still not the inner group phenomenon. It's still a bit outer group. But there are ways they started to talk to each other that was really helpful. So now it's kind of that they start to actually ask themselves about thoughts, ideas, and emotions. So the level of communication went completely differently. And fairness, yeah, for sure. They compared landscapes. They compared their islands. They talked about it. They are clear on what to expect from each other. How do I see that one? What are our values? And where do we have common ground? So with that, I would like to quickly go into something that I found very interesting. I talked to Philip about it. We talk about now a certain case of change management that we all know from our companies, but the change is not only in our companies, the change is out there. Is anybody of you familiar with the name Ray Kurzweil? Who is he? Mm-hmm. Yes. I think we share the same feeling. Unfortunately, he said a lot of things that became true. So who is Ray Kurzweil? Ray Kurzweil is chief engineer at Google, and so the so-called #1 futurist. Ray Kurzweil is exactly the person who wrote a book that is called The Singularity is Near. Singularity means the mix of human intelligence and artificial intelligence. And he's predicting that point to start at 2045. 24 years? So what he's saying is, and we have seen that in the latest years, like the world is changing so fast, we might not be able to keep up with that one. So what I just said, you know, change in companies at times are very, very hard for people because the outside is faster than the inside. And why is that? We have a prefrontal context of the brain. This is the newest part. So this is adaptable. This is why, for example, if you look movies now from the 70s or 60s, you perceive them maybe language-wise as very slow. Yeah, because the world got faster, we speak faster, you can even now, people who have LinkedIn Learning, you can switch the language to 1.5 speed, 2 point, yeah. So you can increase that. And every generation who grows up, like after us now, the speed is increasing. So the understanding is there. What do you think about the limbic system, the oldest part of the brain, amygdala, everything, emotions, they can't follow. We see that quite often in terms of burnout, people are exhausted, there's a lot of, oh gosh, I need holidays, so things like that. And what Roy Kurzweil is predicting us is in about 20 years, so everybody is around 40 nowadays, there will be 4 paradigm changes per year. If we talk about paradigm changes, these are impacts in society that might matter to us. A newborn child that will be 50 then, or like 70, so not 50, sorry, will have a change rate of 32 per year. This is every 11th day in the month. Just wanted to show that in terms of think about how fast we are changing at the moment and what we are doing in terms of changing management theories, actually keeping up with people and the human factor in change. How good are we and how often do we put technology before our people? And with that, I would like to close and give you the last, I got that one because when I discussed that with my colleagues, they said, what you're saying feels for me like a train I have to catch and I just can't grab it. So, and I think this is for many people at the moment, at least in my company, where I deal with loads of people on the shop floor that are in their 50s to 60s. It's just, for them, they can't grab it. The train is gone, or what you said, Philip, the bus. So they are not any longer capable of catching the bus, no matter if they would be right or wrong. So we lose them. With that, I would like to close and to give you 4 points I think that are very important if you consider NeuroLeadership or neuroscience for change. And that would be the first one. Habits are a reflection of our reality. So whatever we are doing is a reflection of what we have thought. Because everything we think becomes reality sooner or later. Neurons that fire together, wire together. That might be the story of the Spanish teacher and my husband. You don't have to take that one. Maybe take something different, but just to give you an image. So, and then the third one is change is a learning journey. If we really would consider change what you have perceived in, maybe not school, this is a really bad example, but when you have learned something that was very delightful, change can be fun. Change can be really something that is engaging and that you like and love. But the question is how we actually design the journey to go there. Fourth point, and your view might only be a coconut in your head. As mentioned, if you think ahead for other people, it is a waste of time. Just ask them and go ahead. So I'm looking forward to the roundtable discussions and wish us all a beautiful afternoon. Thank you.